हाय गाइस, आज है डे 4 ऑफ 30 days 30 econ videos challenge और डे 4 में हम देखेंगे what sort of points can we write for an evaluation for a past paper question from Feb March 23 that says assess whether the consequences of economic growth for an economy are always positive. Now whenever you are asked such a question where they ask you whether something or anything only has positive or only negative consequences, do keep in mind that you will be required to analyze both the positives and the negatives for such questions, but analyzing both the pros and cons is not what evaluation is for such questions. Now, in order to evaluate such a question, we need to mention the factors that will determine whether economic growth has manifested positive or negative consequences in the economy. These are the actual factors that would be considered as an evaluation, i.e. assessment objective 3, and the students can mention the following 3 factors. First, the students could say that whether the consequences of growth are always positive or negative would depend upon whether economic growth is sustainable or not. Growth would be sustainable where future generations can benefit from and experience the same economic growth as current generations. This would involve, for example, growth without excessive inflationary pressures and without significant environmental costs, and growth without the risk of resource depletion, which is possible through effective environmental policies and persistent increases in long-run aggregate supply through supply-side policies to reduce the risk of inflation conflicts. Now, the second point that you can mention is that you could say that whether growth has always positive or negative consequences would depend upon whether the growth is inclusive or not. Growth would be inclusive where all citizens in the economy benefit from economic growth and not just the elite. That is, not just the capital owners or those who work in a certain sector. For growth to be inclusive, transparent, accountable, and non-corrupt governments must exist who can collect taxes efficiently and then redistribute these revenues to where they will have the most benefit in improving the distribution of income and living standards for all. The third and last point that students can state as an evaluation is that they could say that it will depend upon whether the growth can be sustained or not. This is where growth continues to increase over time without sharp contractions. For this to take place, growth must be balanced and not confined to production from one dominant sector and must occur from both the demand and the supply side. This will ensure that any shocks can be absorbed with other avenues available to keep growth strong and living standards increasing. That's all for day 4 guys. मिलेंगे अब day 5 में.